everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name's Chris Halabukas, and once again we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation startups, the future, not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit that bell so you'll be notified when a new show comes online. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, please subscribe and please drop a note on Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it. Now, last couple of shows, I talked a lot about AI. And as a philosopher, I like to think a little bit about how AI applies to philosophy, especially the search for truth. Now, one of the things I find very interesting is that one of those things that we all don't understand, a lot of people don't understand, is that we do not know what is truth. We do not know the truth. We very rarely get exposed to the truth of anything. Of anything. In fact, I would suggest that the only time we are ever exposed to the truth of anything, the actual physical reality of some things, and some philosophers would disagree with even this, when we physically observe a thing with our own senses. When we're standing in front of something and we're observing it with our own senses, when we can hear it, when we can see it, when we can smell it, when we can taste it, when we can touch it, only once you've observed something with your own senses can you tell if something is true. For example, I have this mouse right here. Now, you are looking at this mouse. This mouse may or may not be real. This could be a computer-generated mouse, but because you're on the other side of a video screen, you do not know if this mouse is real. Now, I am holding this mouse. I can feel the mouse. If I wanted to, I could taste the mouse. I could see the mouse. I could feel the weight of the mouse in my hand. I know that this mouse is real. There is truth in this mouse, I guess you could say. The truth of the reality is that this mouse is actual. It's real. It exists. So that a truth for me is that this mouse exists. It may or may not exist for you, but it exists for me because I see it. I can touch it. I can feel it. Physical manifestation is truth to me. Do I have a mouse in my hand? Yes, it is true that I am holding a mouse because I can feel it. I can see it. This is truth to me. So in my view, that is truth. Anything outside of that isn't necessarily true. Anything that you see through this screen, anything that you see online, anything that's been told to you secondhand is not necessarily true. Now, this has been going on forever, right? I mean, back when we were in tribes, something would happen and people would come to you and they say, "Oh, Erg got killed by a mastodon." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Erg got killed by a mastodon." And because somebody ran in and was full of emotions about Erg being killed by a mastodon, you believed that Erg was killed by a mastodon, and to you that was truth. And to the person who was telling you that Erg got killed by a mastodon, maybe they just wanted to tell you that information. Or maybe they were being sneaky and wanted to act like Erg got killed by a mastodon, when actually Erg was going to turn around and kill everybody else. But he wanted to fake his own death so that when he came in and killed everybody else, they wouldn't be scared or they wouldn't know about it. Whenever there's something that's you do not directly experience it, it can fool you. We are fooled. In fact, we can even be fooled by our own senses. Like I was saying, some philosophers actually say that even though I'm holding this mouse, I can still be fooled into thinking I have this mouse. But let's just put it at that. Let's just say anything that we can experience with our own senses in person, we can say that is true, right? So once you go beyond that, so many people believe that anything beyond that is also true, right? Anything we watch on TV, anything that people present to us, anything that people tell us, those numbers you see on somebody's TikTok channel, those numbers you see on somebody's YouTube channel, those numbers you see saying that so many people like this on Twitter. So many people didn't like this on Twitter. So many people complained about this on Twitter. So many people have so many followers on Twitter. All that stuff is probably not real. In fact, most of it is probably not real. 90% of it is probably fake. So when I hear people talking about AI coming up with even more fake stuff and more disinformation, then I think to myself, this is just more of the same. It's just more convincing. If anything, it's more convincing. And unfortunately, what's ending up happening is that, and it's not just AI that's doing this, it's turning us into, and this is what I talked about before, about a high-trust society and low-trust society, is that when we turn on the TV, or we turn on YouTube, or we watch these things that we're watching, they could all be constructed. They could be real, they could be constructed, they could be deep fakes. We do not know, unless you're right in front of me, physically in the same spot, and this is one of the things that the coronavirus exacerbated, is that we're never in the same spot anymore. We're always talking to each other through these mediums. And since these mediums can be fooled so easily, our trust in what we see and what we experience, if it's not something that we experience in person, has become invalid. We are all moving to low trust societies because we cannot trust what we see on the screen in front of us or in the screen in our hand. We trust it less and less and less and less. And a lot of these AI folks are complaining that, AI is just going to make it worse. And I'll say, of course it's going to make it worse because your fakes are going to get even better. But we've already got people believing things that are fake now because you say things over and over enough times, they become true, even if they're not. I forget who said that. Somebody famous said that. Repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. Wasn't that a famous Nazi or something? Or somebody who said that? Was it George Orwell who said that from 1984? I don't know. All I know is that we are already, and people are saying, we're going to become a post-truth society. When are we going to become a post-truth society? We're heading towards becoming a post-truth society. If you ask me, we are already a post-truth society. We've already gone beyond the point where anything that you see online, which is 90% of how we experience the world, is not real. Is not real. And in fact, we have no idea if what we are watching is real at any point. Just the other day, in fact, on Twitter, I think it was last weekend, there were all these scenes of military action throughout the country. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Were they real? Were they fakes? Did they actually happen? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We already live in a post-truth society. So how do we get out of that? I don't know. Enterprising young startup entrepreneurs? Is there a way? Is there a way for us to step back from this post-truth abyss? Is there a way for us to step back from it and figure out how can we start trusting each other once again? How can we be 100% sure that the visions that we are seeing on our phones or on our computers are reality, are true? How can we tell if something is true or not? Is there some way, maybe we can use blockchain. Is there some way we can create some type of system, some type of framework that can ensure that something is true? Is there a way to do that? Because none of this is going away. None of this communications that we're doing remotely are going to go away. What we do need, though, is we need some kind of security. We need some kind of provision that states that what you are hearing, what you are seeing is true. Now, not 100% true, because nothing is ever 100% true. Nothing is ever 100% true. Like I said about science, science is never settled. It always changes. If there's new evidence, the science changes. Same with truth. Truth, we can never know 100% of the truth. But we could use more truth than we're getting today. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.